For the first time ever, Abby and Brittany Hensel are being torn apart. Not physically, but in a way that might shatter their world forever. And at the center of the chaos, a lawyer whose reckless antics have turned their lives into a swirling drama. Let us step closer into this storm of heartbreak, confusion, and unimaginable challenges. But the real shock is yet to come. Abby and Brittany's fight. Abby and Brittany Hensel, the world's favorite conjoined twins, have spent their entire lives sharing one body and two heads, living in an unbroken, perfectly synchronized harmony. They've swam against the currents of a society that loves to gawk but often fails to understand, earning admiration for their grit and teamwork. But now, for the first time in their lives, they're being forced into a separation. Not the surgical kind, heaven forbid, but one just as jarring, emotional and logistical separation. And the situation? It's a mess. Enter a lawyer whose antics seem straight out of a soap opera, turning an already complicated case into a circus. Abby and Brittany have faced every challenge together, but this one could tear them apart. In the courtroom, a shocking secret threatens to change everything. Abby and Brittany have always been the gold standard of compromise. Sharing one body means every decision is a mutual agreement, whether it's who gets to control which arm while driving or which flavor of ice cream they'll share. Now imagine being told to untangle all that coordination because some suit thinks it's necessary. It's not just a demand, it's a hurricane tearing through the very foundation of their existence. The legal world, full of its rules, categories, and precedents, doesn't know what to do with them, and it shows. The whole drama kicked off thanks to a lawyer whose reputation can only be described as chaotic energy in a bad suit. Unpredictable, intense, and downright bizarre, this legal wildcard has plunged the twins into a whirlwind of legal jargon, courtroom stunts, and nonsensical strategies. It's as if they hired the Tasmanian devil as their advocate, and instead of solving problems, the lawyer just spins chaos into every corner of the room. The legal world thrives on neat little boxes, and Abby and Brittany don't fit into any of them. Are they one person? Two? How do you handle custody of yourself? Every aspect of their lives challenges the system's binary thinking. But instead of approaching this with thoughtfulness and creativity, this so-called legal expert seems to be throwing spaghetti at the wall, hoping something sticks. Not exactly confidence-inspiring when your life's balance is on the line. For their entire existence, these twins have worked in perfect tandem. Walking, typing, driving, even clapping, every action is a joint effort. Now someone is suggesting they should operate as two separate entities, at least temporarily. How exactly is that supposed to work? Who handles the left foot and who gets the right? And that's before you even start to consider the emotional fallout. Abby and Brittany are not just close siblings, they're inseparable. Literally. Their entire sense of self, their identity is built on being together, and now some outside force wants to wedge them apart, all because of some legal technicality. It's like asking a fish to leave water. Sure, the fish might survive briefly, but at what cost? The emotional toll of this forced separation is hard to overstate. These two have shared every moment of their lives, from the big milestones like graduating college to the small, everyday rituals like brushing their teeth. They're not just a team, they're a singular unit, each half essential to the whole. To suggest they function apart is to fundamentally misunderstand who they are. The media circus is already circling. Abby and Brittany have been under the public's microscope since they were kids, and this latest twist in their story has only amped up the attention. You can practically hear the tabloid headlines screaming, "Conjoined twins forced to split." The twins, who have always handled their fame with grace, now face the added pressure of having their most personal struggle turned into a spectacle. Privacy? Forget about it. Let's not forget the practical challenges. Abby and Brittany have fine-tuned their lives to operate as a unit. Everything they do is a coordinated dance, and disrupting that rhythm is bound to have consequences. Who's supposed to handle tasks that require their combined effort? And what happens to their mental health when their lifelong partner, their other half, is suddenly out of reach? These aren't just logistical nightmares, they're existential crises. The ordeal raises big questions about how society treats people who don't fit into its narrow definitions. Abby and Brittany's lives are a testament to the beauty of unity and adaptability, but this situation feels like a betrayal. Instead of honoring their unique bond, the system is trying to impose rules that don't make sense for their reality. It's a stark reminder of how rigid and unempathetic our institutions can be when faced with something they don't understand. At the heart of it all, this isn't just a legal battle, it's a fight for identity and autonomy. Abby and Brittany deserve better than a legal system that sees them as a curiosity to be dissected. They deserve a lawyer who can navigate their complex situation with sensitivity and intelligence, not someone who's more unpredictable than a reality TV plot twist. The saga is a lesson in how not to handle extraordinary circumstances. The legal system and society as a whole needs to step up and recognize that one-size-fits-all solutions don't work for everyone. Abby and Brittany are living proof that the world isn't black and white, and it's time we learn to embrace the gray areas. For now, the twins are left to face this storm with the resilience they've always shown. But as they navigate this uncharted territory, one thing is clear: they shouldn't have to do it alone. They need a legal system that listens, adapts, and respects their unique journey. And maybe, just maybe, they need a new lawyer. Consider the layers of complexity involved. This isn't just about separating tasks or redefining roles, it's about the deep emotional bonds and mutual reliance that make them who they are. The world's systems and norms weren't designed for a situation like theirs, and maybe that's the real issue here. When institutions encounter lives that don't fit the mold, too often the response is to try and force conformity rather than embracing diversity. The stakes couldn't be higher. This isn't about winning or losing a case, it's about preserving a life built on shared dreams, achievements, and unbreakable bonds. The twins have achieved incredible milestones together, from academic success to professional triumphs. Those achievements are rooted in their unique connection. Forcing separation risks, unraveling the foundation of everything they've built. They've always been one, now they're told to be two. The fight to stay whole. Life for the twins is all about teamwork, and that extends to their health. They control different halves of their body, meaning that each twin only feels sensations on her side. If Abby hurts her arm, she feels the pain, but they both have to work together to make sure it heals. It's this kind of constant coordination that's always defined their relationship. And when it comes to medical care, it's even more complicated. They need specialists from multiple fields working together to make sure they both stay healthy. They have separate hearts, but their circulatory systems are connected in a way that means an issue for one could affect the other. It's a balancing act that requires constant vigilance, and it's exhausting just to think about. This latest health crisis is different. It's not just about the physical challenges, there's a mental and emotional toll too. Imagine never having a moment to yourself. Imagine always having someone right there, even when you just need space. The twins have found ways to give each other room, even though physical space is impossible. They're two very different people, and they've spent their lives trying to find that balance. It's not easy, and this latest challenge is putting even more pressure on that fragile balance.
With Miss Brittany and I, what does that mean about how many eyes we have?
Before we go any further, let's face it. The truth is far more complicated than anyone could have anticipated, and the hardest part is yet to come. When it comes to dating, things get even more complicated. Abby got married, and that brought a whole new set of challenges. How does that work for the other twin? It's a question that most of us can't even begin to understand, and they have managed to keep the details of their personal lives private. Impressive, considering how many people are fascinated by them. Their relationship status might make for interesting gossip, but it's not something they talk about much. They've got enough to deal with just trying to live a life that's already more complicated than most. Their careers are another area where things get tough. Teaching is a demanding job, even for people who don't have to share a body with their coworker. They have to be perfectly in sync, not just physically, but also mentally, to manage a classroom. They're constantly communicating, making sure they're on the same page, and their students love them for it. But behind the scenes, it's a struggle. Standing all day, managing kids, keeping up with the physical demands, it's exhausting. And they still have to fight to be recognized as two individuals, even when it comes to getting paid. Imagine having 2 degrees, 2 certifications, and still getting 1 salary because you share a body. It's just another hurdle they have to overcome. The emotional and psychological challenges of their lives are intense. Most people can go for a walk, slam a door, or just take a break when they need some space. But for them, that's not an option. They're always there, always together, and as they get older, that lack of privacy is only going to get harder. They've adapted in a lot of ways, but some things are just impossible to overcome. They're going to need constant mental health support to help them cope with the challenges of living their lives. It's not just about surviving. It's about finding ways to thrive, and that's going to be tough. There's no easy way to talk about Abby and Brittany's life expectancy. Conjoined twins don't have an average lifespan. Their situation is just too unique. And with their shared organs, the stress on their bodies is something that's always there. The fact that they've made it this far is a testament to their resilience and the care they've received, but the future is uncertain. They're human, and their bodies can only take so much.
Ready? Go.
As this latest health scare unfolds, it's a reminder that nothing in their lives is guaranteed. They've always faced challenges, but this one is different. It's about survival, and that's not something anyone can take lightly. Abby and Brittany have overcome so much, but what lies ahead will push them harder than ever before. Standing strong through the storm. Abby and Brittany are once again showing the world what true strength looks like. They're facing an uncertain future, but they're doing it together, just as they always have. Their story is far from over, and whatever comes next, they're going to face it with the same grace and determination that they've shown throughout their lives. Their path is a powerful reminder of what the human spirit can endure. It's a reminder that no matter what challenges we face, we have the ability to overcome them. And Abby and Brittany have shown us all that even when the odds are stacked against you, it's still possible to live a life that's full of love, connection, and hope. The ultimate test is now. Their bodies are changing, aging, and frankly, not cooperating the way they used to. It's hard enough for most of us to deal with one body getting older. Now imagine having to coordinate every movement with someone else when your body just doesn't work like it used to. The patience they're going to need is off the charts, and it's not fair. But fairness has never been a part of Abby and Brittany's story. It's always been about resilience, and now, more than ever, they're going to need every ounce of it. Their medical care is like trying to fix a car with 2 steering wheels. Every adjustment affects both drivers. And it's not just a quick trip to the doctor. It's specialists, custom treatments, teams of doctors trying to figure out what works.
Above the waist, they seem to function independently, and yet they can clap, even though one controls one arm and the other controls the other.
The energy they've got to put into just staying healthy is mind-boggling. And then there's their career. Teaching is no joke, especially when you're trying to manage a classroom and keep everything coordinated. And for Abby and Brittany, it's even more draining. Standing all day, trying to keep up with energetic kids, dealing with the demands of teaching, it's exhausting. And let's not even talk about the pay. You'd think 2 brains would mean 2 salaries, but bureaucracy doesn't work like that. It's more like, you share a body, so here's 1 paycheck. They're always having to prove themselves, even when they've already done more than most of us could ever imagine. And emotionally, the strain is real. Imagine being with someone every second of every day, never having a break, never having privacy. It's cute in theory, but the reality is so much tougher. And as they get older, that's only going to get more challenging. They're not invincible. They're human, and their health, both physical and mental, needs attention. They're going to need support, and a lot of it. It's not about surviving anymore. It's about finding ways to truly live. And that's the hardest part of all. Abby and Brittany have been defying the odds since day one, but now, as their bodies age, they're facing a new kind of challenge. How do you keep going when everything is pushing back against you? The path isn't over. They're still here, still fighting, still showing the world what real strength looks like. And whatever happens next, we know one thing for sure. Abby and Brittany aren't going down without a fight.
Don't put that stuff on mine, Cody. I don't want that on there.
Okay.
They've got each other, and as long as that's true, they're not giving up. Join us as we continue to follow their story. Because if there's one thing we've learned, it's that Abby and Brittany's story is far from finished. What's next for these incredible women? Will their bond be enough to face the challenges ahead? Stories of other conjoined twins show both heartbreak and hope, reminding us how strong people can truly be. Bonds that defined history. Conjoined twins have always drawn attention from people around the world. It's not just about how their bodies are physically linked, but also about their extraordinary lives that fascinate everyone. While many people think about Abby and Brittany Hensel when conjoined twins are mentioned, they are far from the only ones who have made an impact in history. There have been other pairs whose lives have been just as remarkable, if not more. Let's start with Chang and Ing Bunker. They were born way back in 1811 in a place called Siam, which is now known as Thailand. These two are probably the most famous conjoined twins of all time. They were connected at the chest by a piece of cartilage, and a British merchant found them, eventually bringing them to the United States in 1829. They were pretty much shown off like an exhibit, with people paying to see them move and live together in sync. But their story goes beyond being just a show. They moved to North Carolina in 1839 and became citizens. Believe it or not, they even married, both of them to sisters named Adelaide and Sarah Yates. Together, they had a staggering 21 children. Their lives were like a big middle finger to society's expectations back then, and because of them, the term Siamese twins was coined. These guys didn't just live, they thrived. Next, there's Lori and George Chappelle. Born in 1961 in Pennsylvania, these twins were joined at the head, a condition called craniopagus. Even though they shared some parts of their brains, they managed to live very different lives. George became a country music artist using the stage name Reba Chappell, while Lori worked a regular job in hospital laundry. But their story took an even more unexpected turn in 2007 when George transitioned to male, making them the first conjoined twins to identify as different genders. Imagine the complexities of identity they had to navigate. One body, two people, with their own dreams and even gender identities. They showed the world that identity is much deeper than just appearances. Then there were Ronnie and Donnie Gaillon, born in 1951 in Ohio. These two were connected at the abdomen and held the record for being the longest-living conjoined twins, passing away in 2020 at the age of 68. They started their lives in sideshows where they were part of traveling attractions. But later they retired to their hometown to live a quieter life. Despite the challenges they faced, they lived for nearly 70 years, giving people a glimpse into what resilience truly looks like when you're living such a unique life.
'Cause our legs quit moving, we was weak as a kitten.
Daisy and Violet Hilton were another famous pair, born in 1908 in England. They were joined at the pelvis, a type called pygopagus. Their story is heartbreaking in many ways. Their mother sold them to a woman who trained them to become performers. They ended up becoming vaudeville stars in the United States, playing instruments and entertaining large crowds. Their musical talents made them famous, but their lives were far from glamorous behind the scenes. They faced betrayal, control, and a lot of hardship. The story of Daisy and Violet is one of triumph and tragedy all mixed together as they struggled to have control over their own lives while living under a spotlight they never chose. Masha and Dasha Krivoshlyapova, born in 1950 in the Soviet Union, were joined in a way that made them share three legs. From the beginning, their lives were rough. They were taken from their mother and studied by doctors. Their childhood was spent in institutions where they were treated more like subjects than children. Despite all this, they developed unique personalities and had their own interests. Their story highlights how different cultures and political systems can affect the treatment of conjoined twins. They weren't just surviving, they were trying to carve out their own individuality in a system that didn't see them as fully human. Another pair of conjoined twins that fascinated many people were Ganga and Jamuna Mondal. They were born in India around 1970 and were joined at the pelvis too. Because of how they looked, they became known as the Spider Sisters. They worked in traveling shows for most of their lives, which might sound similar to other stories of conjoined twins. But in recent years, their story took a happier turn. They found love and companionship, showing that even in a world that often sees them as different, they could find someone who loves them for who they are. Their story challenges the idea that conjoined twins can't live full and happy lives. When you hear these stories, you realize that the experiences of conjoined twins are as varied as any other group of people. Some live their lives in the public eye, others fought for independence, and some simply wanted to live quiet lives away from the spotlight. But they all shared something beyond their physical connection, a resilience that many of us could never understand. Their lives force us to rethink our ideas of identity, connection, and what it means to be normal. Is separating Abby and Brittany a medical necessity, or could it have been avoided entirely? Share your thoughts and don't forget to